Hello to all and welcome back to another interesting video of PowerDirector Made Simple. Today's video is going to be in response to a comment and question received from one of the viewers. A question came in from the viewer named Debsance. I hope I pronounced that right. But she wrote that she has a problem with PowerDirector creating videos that are longer in duration than what she has set as the end of the video. Now, here's where things get a little weird, and I might be misunderstanding a few details. And if I am, I'm sure she will let me know. But she writes that after the last update, she can no longer adjust the slider to the correct endpoint of the video when she went to export it. Now, let me stop right there and say that I think I know what she is talking about, but I'm not sure why she is or was adjusting any sliders to export a video. In previous versions of PowerDirector, you could use sliders that were in the export window to adjust the mark in and mark out points that were to be rendered and exported. I have never used them, and I never understood why anybody else would need to use them. Cyberlink thought that they were so seldomly used that they were eliminated from the export window in the last update. On my timeline is a video that is 10 seconds long. If I right-click on the clip and select Properties, we can see that it is indeed 10 seconds long. I'll click on the Export button, and in the current export window, there are no sliders to adjust any mark in or mark out locations. Notice at the bottom left, Cyberlink still indicates a duration of 10 seconds. I'll click on Export, and when the rendering is done, I'll click on Open File Location. Windows Explorer opens, and there is my exported video. I'll right-click and select Properties. And then I'll click on the Details tab, where it still says 10 seconds. So far, Cyberlink has not created a video longer than what was indicated on the timeline. I'll close the export window and return back to the main user interface for PowerDirector. Now, if I wanted to, I could still pick and choose just part of the video on a timeline to be exported. For example, in this 10-second video on the timeline, let's assume that I want to export only 5 seconds out of the middle. I don't know why I would need to do, but let's assume that I needed to do so. I could just trim the video clip, but there is another way. Right alongside of the red playhead are two yellow gadgets that can select a range of the video. Now, I swear I thought these little yellow marker gadgets had an official name, but I just spent the better part of an hour or two going through all of the introductory videos about PowerDirector anywhere in the universe, and none of them mentioned them nor gave them an official name. So I'm just going to call them little yellow marker gadgets. Maybe they're still called the mark in and mark out gadgets. I'm not sure. So to be accurate here, and so that we can all see what I am doing, I'm going to zoom in on the timeline. Now let's assume that I want to export the section from 2 seconds to 7 seconds. I'll grab and move the left side of the little yellow marker to the 2-second mark. I'll then grab the right side little yellow marker and move it to the 7-second mark. Now, when done, I'm going to zoom back out so we can see the entire video. Notice that the entire range of the timeline that I have marked has turned yellow. If I have the playhead at the far right side of that range, the preview window should indicate 500, which means I have exactly 5 seconds chosen for that range. When I right-click anywhere inside of that yellow range, I get a number of options, including one to export range. Or I could just click the Export Range button above the timeline. I'll select that one. The usual export window opens. Notice down at the bottom, PowerDirector indicates a duration of 5 seconds. I can now make whatever codec, resolution settings, or file name that I want and click on the Export button at the bottom right. And just as before, I'll click on Open File Location. I'll right-click on the file and select Properties. On the Detail tabs, it says Video is 5 seconds long. Now, once again, I am not getting a longer duration of the video than I expected. Now, the viewer with the problem continued to write that she has a video that is 4:29 in length, but can't seem to adjust PowerDirector's video duration settings when she goes to export. I'm not sure why is she wanting to adjust any duration settings, because PowerDirector will render out whatever clips you have on the timeline. She further indicates that the 4:29 video is showing as 6:15 on the export window, which leaves her with over a minute of a blank rolling black screen at the end of the produced video. Now that is a problem. She wants to know if I have ever experienced this. Well, no, I haven't, but I am wondering if she has something hidden from view on the timeline. This has happened to me before, but I caught it before I went to export the video. Here is an example of what could happen. I'm first going to place a title somewhere under the video. I'll hit F2 to edit the title, and I'm going to erase all of the text on the title. Perhaps I now just change my mind about using the title, so I just hit OK, and I'm going to move it way off to the right on a lower track, such as track number 4 or 5, where it would seem as if it wouldn't bother my video. Because I may have lost view of the upper tracks on the timeline, I'll now slide the bar back up so I can see the upper tracks, and maybe pull down the handle on the library and preview windows so that I can get a better and larger view of them. Now notice that the blank title object is no longer in view. It's still there, but is unseen. I'll hit the play button to prove that the blank title has no effect, right? I'll start from around 8 seconds and hit play. Watch what happens. Oh, the playhead keeps on going after my 10-second video. So how do I adjust a setting to make it stop? All I want is my 10-second video. Let's hit the export button to see what can happen there. PowerDirector is now saying my 10-second video is more than a minute long. But remember, the viewer wrote that she has no means of adjusting the settings or sliders to indicate an endpoint. Well, Deb Sance, I'm not saying for certain that this is your problem, but PowerDirector will always render out to the last object on the right of the timeline. Your video of 4:29 is probably not the last thing on the timeline. You might have something else that is on a lower, unseen track that stretches out to 6:15, and that is why your rendered video has over 1 minute of black screen at the end. You need to check for and eliminate any unseen objects on your timeline. Then you should end up with a video that lasts for 4:29 instead of 6:15. Now, one more thing. Even if you have something that does extend out past the 4:29 mark, such as background music, PowerDirector will continue to render a video out to the end of that music. So here's a little test for everybody. Back on the main interface, I'm going to drag any background music down to a visible track, such as number 2. Now, it extends way out past my 10-second video. But I'm now going to go down and disable that audio track by clicking on the speaker icon to the left of that track. If I rendered out what I'm calling my 10-second project now, how long would the produced video be? Now remember that audio track is disabled. Would it be just 10 seconds? Or would it continue out to the end of the disabled music track and give me nothing but several minutes of black screen with no audio at all? Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I can quickly answer my own question by just playing my video on the timeline. Let's see if the playhead stops at 10 seconds, or does it keep on going? I'll start from near the 8-second mark, and I'm going to hit play. Watch and see what happens. Well, there's your answer. The playhead is still going after the 10-second mark, which means I would end up with a rendered video well over 2 minutes long of black screen and no audio. Now, for the viewer with the question, if you do have any objects farther out on the right, past the 429 mark, and you want them to remain there as part of your project, yet you want to render out just a portion of what's on the timeline, then go ahead and use those little yellow markers to select the range that you want. And for all the rest of you folks, pay attention to what can happen when you get multiple tracks, and eventually you may not be able to see all of them at once. So you need to either buy a 65-inch monitor or check for those unseen objects. I want to thank Deb Sance for asking a question that all of us may have been facing at one time or another. I hope I understood her questions and descriptions properly, and hopefully pointed her in the right direction. Whatever it is, let me know and how it turns out. I've enjoyed trying to figure out what could be the culprit here. If you've enjoyed this video, hit that like button. And if you are not already subscribed to this channel, please hit the subscribe button. And don't miss the next video, because it's going to be a real doozy about a comment from another viewer. And always, thanks to all of you for watching.